Here we are, exclusively live of the SRL project cars in the beautiful United States of America at Long Beach in California. And what a fantastic result, man. And alongside me, well, I've got a co-commentator that's been good enough to join us tonight. GT, welcome. And first of all, what do you think we're going to see tonight? And if it's half as exciting...
Got into the lobby, you can see that it is wet conditions. The cars will be struggling here with quite a lot of spray being kicked up, especially the Ferrari struggling in the wet conditions. And the Audi also having... Ahead of us tonight will be Jason Wilkinson, V8 Man 51, Hecker, Tooley 52, Jace 004, Womp 83, Nemo N9, Formula 1 Rocks, Cart Dude 45, Subtracer, Fubbles 888, and Latex. Will be the races ahead of us tonight.
And a fantastic turnout too, isn't it, GT? I mean, we've got currently 11 drivers. Don't forget, everyone out there, if you want to sign up to this brand new SRL Project Cars 2 League. Oh, we've got somebody off there already.
Yeah.
GT, is that Cart Dude in the wet conditions?
Yeah, that was Cart Dude in the front. Yeah.
And have a look, it's conditions like this, GT, the visibility is almost zero, and you don't want to be following a car too closely, otherwise you might end up heading straight to the scene of the accident. So always difficult in these conditions, and you can see as we ride on board with Tooley 52, and you've really got to tread very carefully, don't you, GT, like you've got an egg under the accelerator pedal if you're not going to go off in these conditions.
Yeah, most drivers, I did give a little bit of briefing to the drivers before we started here. During a couple of practice sessions that we were running, I suggested to them that they did run this spool system, which is implemented through the setup screen. The spool kind of helps with that differential and able to control the car in conditions like this.
So don't forget, like I mentioned, we might have some exclusive footage of that on the SRL YouTube page or the Kidbyers YouTube page of the driver's briefing, a bit like what the F1 guys do with some live and exclusive access. But it is bucketing down as our winner from last week, Formula 1 Rocks, goes across the line. But look at those conditions, absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
And just to, if you're new to the Project Cars 2 League, or indeed viewing it, the live stream on our YouTube page, don't forget, 20-minute qualifying session. And just to remind you of the rules and regs, the optional 1-hour practice lobby starting from 7 PM Australian Eastern Time, before the lobby starting at 8 PM, or it should have started at 8 PM. We'll get that sorted out next week. A 20-minute qualifying session, like I mentioned before, roughly a 28-lap race here tonight at Watkins Glen. The shorter version of this track, GT, we're skipping a couple of corners, but track, it's a very highly technical track, and I guess tyre temps can play a bit of a role here. Of course, it's set in the United States summer, but I don't think we're going to have that problem tonight.
Yeah, I did ask a couple of the drivers while I was talking to them about what conditions and how they felt about their racecraft throughout the weekend, and most of them said that they did enjoy the wet conditions and thought that'd be a bit of a challenge. But however, Jason and Womp and Fubbles all didn't want wet conditions. They felt that they weren't quick and they'd have zero traction, and that's definitely showing here, with also Cart Dude spinning out at that early part of the Grand Prix as well. So yeah, tyre temps will be going high if you do spin.
Track before he found himself facing the wrong way. As we take a quick look at the early times in this qualifying session, very important, of course, to get out early and set a time in these conditions. But it's Tooley who set a 1:14.933, and he currently holds provisional pole position. But of course, there's still plenty of time remaining, 15 minutes, just under 16 in this qualifying session. Cart Dude with a 1:16 flat, and I tell you what, then it's a 1:18.3. But I tell you what, the lap time around this Watkins Glen short track, GT, we're looking at a bit over a minute in the dry, so these guys just treading very lightly. Those times well down on the dry weather times.
Yeah, so we should be seeing, if we were qualifying in the dry, we would be seeing the possibly 107s or 108s, a really slow time, so probably race time. Oh, it's Cart Dude's gone around there. That's really not good. Maybe he's pushing a bit hard, but yeah, we should be seeing, if it's dry during the race, maybe 110s, 111s for the drivers here today.
Well, I don't know whether Cart Dude's doing this on purpose or not. I'm sure he'll hate me for saying that, but I think he's just trying to get some airtime for his sponsors. That's the second time he's gone round, and we're barely even 5 minutes into this qualifying session, but that rain is not easing up at all, and we might take this opportunity to look at the championship standings. Like I mentioned, just the one race gone. But it's F1 Rocks for Shake and Bake Racing on 25 points ahead of his teammate. What a finish that was last week on 18 points. Jason Wilkinson finished third last week. He takes 15 points. Sub GT on 12. Tooley in fifth place in the championship on 10 points. The other Jason on 8 points. Jace 044 Fubbles was finished seventh in the end at Long Beach last week. And then it was Nemo who ended up on his roof GT, and not in a good way at all last week, but he still managed to take home 4 points last week. So we might take a quick opportunity as we watch Tooley there making his way around. We can still see these conditions. They've got to be so careful, GT, in these conditions as V8 man comes into the pits. But the early going, and now Tooley's around, and he's into the wall, GT.
That was inevitable. That you could see him, what I like to call the reverse El Rouge, if you know your things. Here at Watkins Glen, that corner is really, it's either hit or miss. If you miss the first part, you're going to miss the second, and you're inevitable to catch that inside curve and fall out as he's gone into the pit lane there. But yeah, it's really inevitable that the car's going to spin through those corners, especially in conditions like this, if you're really, quite ballsy and going through that corner. So yeah, we might see in dry conditions, cars may be pushing quite a lot. Ooh, as Cart Dude takes a little bit of inside curb there. But yeah, so we should be seeing some difficult conditions to follow.
No doubt about that, and they are not going to get any easier. As don't adjust your screens if you're watching at home. That is Cart Dude with all four wheels and tyres pointing in the right direction. No, I'm only joking. He's got a good sense of humour as we see him come around now. He has set provisional time of a 1:15.4, so 8 tenths off of Tooley, who is looking good, isn't he? GT's dipped into the 1:14s, but I'm sure that Formula One Rocks, V8 Man and a few others, Jason as well, will have a little bit to say about that, as I think it's a fantastic circuit, this one, steeped in plenty of history, the same as Long Beach last week, and some fantastic corners here. Of course, host to the United States Formula One Grand Prix back in the 70s. We've got the back straight, the outer loop, the chute, the heel, the toe, the boot, but they're all on the longer version of the track. But so just, what do we got, 11 corners, the 90-degree turn one, very challenging technically and physically for the drivers, GT.
Yeah, through turn 6, I'll correct you there a little bit. On this track there are 8 corners. So through turn 6, Turkey Est type corner, and also Circuit of the Americas type corner. Turn 6 will really be difficult. It's a corner that you don't want to overtake at, or you'll go wide and straight into those marbles. Also with turn 7 as well, that will be an overtaking corner. Be able to head the inside of the track, and also drivers might even have more grip on the outside of the track through the quick, fast chicane, as we see Tooley coming up to that chicane now. So yeah.
Very interesting indeed, and some passing opportunities, but I guess if the conditions stay as they are, we might not see too much of it in the early part of the race. And gee, it's tightened up at the top as we take a look at Formula One Rocks. Currently in 5th on the grid, only set a 1:15.842. It looks to be coming up, he's coming up to the back of Tooley there, so hopefully, I think we've got the rules from our man Jason Wilkinson about regards to headlights. What are the rules, GT? Can you have your headlights on if you're on a hot lap?
In the wet conditions, it is actually it's against the rules really. If you don't have your headlights on, it's just a safety thing. Same with Formula One, you have to have your tail light on. So in wet conditions, the driver will have to run their headlights. But on regards to a flying lap, the drivers should be blinking their headlights on that straight that Formula One Rocks was just on. If he is on a flying lap, he'll blink his front headlights to show. But we should be seeing flying laps in the low 5 minutes to 7 minutes, where the drivers will try to really push the limits as Latex, I'm not sure how to say his name, His lap time was invalid 3 times as he's got some track limits. So yeah, drivers really will be pushing the limits on this track to gain as much time, especially in conditions like this, as Formula One Rocks gets a little bit tail happy. The Aldi is struggling there, it seems.
Yeah, no doubt about that, and like we mentioned, obviously a highly technical course, this one, but the track limits are a little bit odd. You can't really be too daring and too brave, can you, when it comes to getting a wheel over the curb or onto the grass? Not that you want to be doing that anyway, because you have to be very careful, don't you, in regards to the track limits around this place as well.
Yeah, you can probably see as I've brought up the speedo there. Oh, as he runs across the grass there, drivers will be hitting. Drivers will be hitting the top, probably the top of 6th gear there along that straight, and then, oh, Jesus, all the cars around.
No!
Nemo,
what is happening
Nemo's
there?
nearly on his roof again. So that is really unfortunate for Nemo as he's head back into the pit lane. But yeah, drivers will be hitting the top gears throughout these laps, especially 5th gear will be 5th and 4th gear will be the most used around this track, with 2nd gear used for the lowest gear of this track. So yeah, we should see that Jason will maybe be setting a quick lap time. He was hoping for 1st place in qualifying, but he also said a top 5 place would be good. So he's in that top 5 now. But we should see lap times improve as the track evolution gets higher.
No doubt about that, as we're currently watching that. Isn't that a beautiful looking Ferrari there? Jason Wilkinson in the beautiful Italian Scuderia red this week. But gee, those conditions, as we saw with Nemo there, as we're getting looks to be a little bit of lag on the screen at the moment. But Jason currently looking to improve his time of a 1:15.174. Just under 8 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Like we mentioned, a 20-minute qualifying session before 28 laps here at the beautiful Watkins Glen Raceway, the short version. And just looking at the calendar ahead too, we're continuing our US road trip as Kart Dude gets the rear end out there, GT, looking very nice indeed. But just quickly looking at the rundown, Long Beach last week for round 1. This week we're in Watkins Glen for 28 laps around this beautiful track before we head to Daytona Road, before we crisscross the globe over to Germany for round 4, Hockenheim. And then we start the Asian leg, Sugo and Fuji before Zolder, back to Europe in Belgium for round 7, and then finishing at the beautiful Mount Panorama in Bathurst, 22 laps around there to see out the season. And I tell you what, Tooley, who's still currently holding on to that pole position, 3 tenths ahead of Kart Dude Jason, 5 tenths behind him. And we're still seeing the birthday boy there. Special shout out to Nemo GT, whose birthday it is today. Apparently they've been shouting out the locals, "We want Nemo, we want Nemo." And why wouldn't you? He's a bit of a character, isn't he? And we're going to ride on board with the birthday boy now. He hasn't got the birthday cake in the car. He's probably looking to just keep an eye on things in terms of the weight limit there, and he's moved across. Very kind indeed. He's almost he has completely stopped on the track there to let somebody else go through. And I tell you what, what's he doing there? I don't think Nemo knows what he's doing at the moment, as he's stopped again. Probably just letting the traffic clear before he starts possibly another hot lap. But he is currently in P11 and last. He'll be looking to set a time. 6 minutes left, GT. You'll want to be setting a time ASAP, no doubt about that.
Yeah, as soon as possible. Really, Nemo should have put his flashes on there when he stopped on the track. It's a little bit dangerous, but I won't say anything against it. The cars will be trying to push as hard as possible now as they come through to the practically 5 minutes mark. 5 minutes and 46 seconds remaining here in this qualifying. No, I've gone to the wrong person. He's round. He's round at the pit lane, which is quite dangerous as the Porsche passes there. He's going to back up now. But yeah, the drivers really will be starting to push now, and you can see the effects of that for the first round winner. He'll really be pushing hard. And as Subtracer mentioned to me, he said that he really didn't know about his tyres. He really thought that he was going to burn them up in wet and dry conditions either or. So maybe we'll see some drivers with really high temperatures on their tyres and maybe having to slow their cars down, or even coming in for a pit stop.
Well, that is, we didn't see any pit stops last week, of course, in that dry to wet race, but they were getting a little bit tentative on the accelerator pedal late in that race back in round 1 in Long Beach last week, of course. But like you mentioned, overheating GT in terms of the tyres. In the dry conditions, we can see potentially 55 degrees Celsius.
What was that?
As wow, I tell you what, is that Hecker Kosh?
Yeah, it's Hecker. Yeah, he just lost, as I was saying about there with the with Kart Dude. Yeah, he just lost the back end and was round. Really unfortunate. The Nissan, obviously being a Japanese car, I think it's Japanese. Really pushing up the once again backwards El Rouge. Really going to be pushing hard the drivers here as they really try to take that corner flat out, but you really can't in these wet conditions. You're going to have to lift off about halfway through, and I reckon it's probably about a 4th gear corner. I'm really unsure in wet conditions, but probably 4th gear, I reckon.
And that is really the challenge, isn't it, in these wet conditions as we ride on board with Formula One Rocks, currently in P4, a second off the pace for our championship leader. But that is the challenge of wet weather racing, isn't it, GT? I mean, we've seen Max Verstappen in Formula One. You've got to go and find the grip. Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, all of the great drivers, they can find time, can't they, in the wet conditions. They take different lines. They can find grip where there isn't usually grip on the outside, or taking different lines around the track. It really is an art to race in these wet conditions. And Formula One Rocks then, can he improve on 4th place and a 1:15.674? They'll be getting nervous, GT, just under 3 minutes now, so the pressure is really on, and you can see the water, you can see the standing water, the pools of water around this track. Have a look at that. And you can see there on the inside of that final turn, the water just pooling there, so you want to steer clear of that as Formula One Rocks comes across the line. Can he improve?
No, he hasn't improved. 99.9 tenths of a second off Tooley's lapse time, so that's really getting close now.
He's improved on his personal best time, but still just 1/1000th of a second under or off the time of Tooley, a 1:14.6. And what can the birthday boy do? And you can see, look at those wipers, and the water is absolutely everywhere. The marshal waving the green flag there as we ride on board with him. He's off again. He's around that corners, caught the birthday boy out, Nemo. And well, it looks like every one of these drivers is just trying to spend all their time just trying to keep the car on the road. And big hello to everybody out there watching this broadcast live and exclusive on the Kidbyers channel. We had some technical difficulties. It was going to be on the Supreme Racing League channel. Hopefully we can get back on there. We haven't been on there yet, but hopefully we can get on there next week. Now the pressure's really on Nemo. Just a minute and a half left, GT. He has to set a time to get him somewhere, maybe in the mid-pack or towards the front of this field for the start of the race.
Yeah, I tell you what, it seems like every time that we ride on board with the driver, they make a mistake or spin around. So maybe we've got a little bit of a commentator curse here, as Nemo gets a little bit of tail happy there as we now watch Kart do his Kart, yeah, commentated cursed him again. He's totally round. So yeah, drivers really will be pushing now, and especially with a fast driver like Kart Dude, he's fast in everything, I reckon. If you put him on a bloody soapbox, I reckon he'd beat everyone. But yeah, drivers really will be showing that they've got speed here, especially with Tooley showing his pace and moving up the grid. I believe he set a provisional time of a 1:15, and he's moved up by 2 seconds there with Nemo having a tough time once again. And if I was the driver in the car, I'd be shutting that visor, because I don't want no water in my visor, I reckon. But once again, Felipe Massa, where is the white visor? I need the white visor. So all the drivers will be wanting to stay cool.
Yes, no doubt about that, JT. 15, 14, 13. We are counting down. 10 seconds remaining in qualifying here for round 2 of the SRL Project Cars GT3 Asia Pacific League. 1 second. That's it. Time's up. Qualifying is complete. 1.5 minutes.
Had a problem, I reckon.
Oh, Nemo.
Yeah, Nemo had a little bit of a problem there. Big snap of oversteer.
I think Nemo has, he's got a lot of friends out there, no doubt about that. He's, I don't think he's driving a car at the moment. I think he's sailing a boat around this Watkins Glen track. But most of the drivers are in the pit lane at the moment, but there's still latex out on track, or latex. We better be careful how we say that. It is a prime time broadcasting slot. We don't want to be thinking too much about latex, that's for sure. But actually, Brody Swart off air has actually sent me a message saying it is way too wet. I don't know what they do. These Formula 1 guys, they'd be starting behind a safety car. Is latex.
Oh, that's going to ruin the Tooley's lap behind him. And he's going to get those yellow flags and he's going to have to slow down.
Yep, it's going to be yellow flags out, 35 seconds left in qualifying, and have a look at that. Almost monsoonal conditions, and latex is off. We'll call him latex. I'm sure he can message us on the live stream and let us know. I'm sure he will if we're saying that wrong, as we ride on board with him at the moment. Time ticking down, just 25 seconds left in this qualifying session, and have a look. You can get an idea from the onboard shot here, GT, and for everyone watching at home this broadcast, you just cannot go into any corner with any confidence, certainly not on the accelerator pedal. Coming through across the line, and he's well off the pace, isn't he? I think it was about a 6-minute lap time there, as everybody's in the pits, and there are the final qualifying results on your screen for Watkins Glen round 2 here in the GT3 League. So it's Tooley 52 taking the pole position with a 1:14.6, and yes, winner. And these conditions are absolutely treacherous as we get ready to go racing, and we've got a disconnection there. Jace044 has disconnected from the session. But I can tell you now, it is just way too wet, and our man Jason Wilkinson has flicked us a message saying it was just getting wetter, and wetter, and there was not much else he could do about it as well. So as we go through the grid then, great work JT. JT's on the camera, doing the camera work there, and also, like I said at the start of the broadcast, joining me as my co-commentator tonight. 28 laps of Watkins Glen, and my goodness, is it going to be action-packed, judging by the weather conditions. They don't, looks like it may have eased up slightly. I'm being a little bit optimistic, JT, but we are in for an absolute cracking race. I tell you what, if you thought last week was exciting at Long Beach, we had rain in the final few laps. Just stick around. Whatever you're doing at home, whatever you're doing, stop doing it. Go and watch this broadcast, because we are in for an absolute ripper of a race. Just quickly, JT, before we get things underway, who's your tip for this race today?
Well, I reckon my tip would probably be it's really tight around here, so you just have to be careful and give as much room to the. I know it's really hard, but you just have to give as much room as possible to every driver and treat every driver like it's your mother in that car. You just don't want to take it out. With the drivers really having to push as hard as possible here, and I did actually speak to the drivers about damage, and a lot of them said that they didn't want damage on, and I could understand that they didn't want damage on, because I tell you what, it is very performance impacting. You know, I think there'd be more than one pit stops a race, but I think we are getting ready to go out here.
I think.
So I'll take away.
I don't think we're too far away. Thank you very much, GT. We've got some comments on the stream. I don't know whether these people are... Oh, they are off and racing. Apologies for that, we didn't see the lights, but heading down into turn 1, it's Tooley ahead of Cardew there with Jason in third. Ooh. Jason goes for a move on the inside, but Tooley manages to maintain the lead. Cardew there slots into second place. Jason in third. You can barely see anything, and you want to get out in the lead early in these conditions, JT, that's for sure. So it's Tooley, Cardew, Jason, all within a second of each other. Then it's Fubbles, Sub GT, V8 man, your top 6 at the moment as we ride on board with Bubbles there. Oh, he's got company from V8 man and Sub GT Racer as well. So have a look at this. They are all within seconds of each other as we head through the treacherous lap 1 here at Watkins Glen, the short course. Great to have your company with us now. And somebody's off. Cartdude is off. Cartdude is around and off. And, well, he did it during qualifying a few times. You can see that, and somebody else is off in the Porsche as well in the background. But Cartdude, oh, there's contact. They're off everywhere. I don't think we've got a safety car in this race, but what an absolute disaster for Cartdude. He started second on the grid, and that was Hecka Kosh. I tell you what, these Germans, they're making it confusing for me as lap 1. God, what an eventful race we've had so far, GT.
Yeah, Kart Dude, I think that was probably his own mistake there. I don't think he made contact with anyone else, but it looked like he just lost the back end maybe, going way too hot into the corner and just lost it out. But now Tooley 52 has a huge lead of over a second, and behind Jace he's got 4 seconds behind that, with Nemo nearly a minute behind, so you might get lapped during this race. You never know. Yeah,
not a very good birthday present for Nemo, you have to say. But currently then lap 2, and in these treacherous conditions here at Watkins Glen, it's Tooley, like you mentioned, GT, with a massive lead, 1.2 seconds, just under a second now, but Jason is catching him very quickly before Fubbles there in P3, and Sub-GT Racer in 4th, V8 man. Then Formula One Rocks, our championship leader. It looked, was that someone off to the side there as we ride on board with Fubbles now. And he is currently sitting in P3, I believe. Was that Jason who went off? He's down to 6th on our timing screens in the Ferrari.
Yeah, but Jason must have gone off.
Yep, Jason was in second chasing. Oh, here we go, Fubbles. Slightly goes off the track, and that gives V8 man a chance to get through there. So Fubbles in the Ferrari. It's saying we're currently watching Fubbles as we come through to complete. Yep. Currently on board with Fubbles in lap 2 out of 28, Sub-GT Racer now. And apparently, from all reports, Jason's game did freeze. He has been having internet connection problems throughout the course of this evening. But Tooley, have a look at that. Tooley, aka Ayrton Senna, there in the wet conditions on lap 3 here at Watkins Glen. He leads 5 seconds ahead of Sub-GT Racer. He's done well in the early part of this race. V8 man in 3rd, Fubbles in 4th, Formula One Rocks. Have a look at that. They're all together. This is what online racing is all about, but you just have to tread so carefully. And that visibility, oh, there's contact again, JT.
Yeah, that was completely and utterly V8 man's fault there. Bubbles, he wasn't, I don't think that it was Bubbles' fault. He just didn't see him coming on the inside. You got to remember that drivers need to think about other cars and their brake temperatures and how fast they're going to be heading into a corner like that one, which is practically start-stop. And if it was like, I think is it the Moscow Grand Prix that the GT3 cars go and race at? And it's the it's that yellow flag consistently all the way through. I reckon we should have that in here in Watkins Glen throughout that little chicane bit. It's a little bit too dangerous in the wet, but you know, we'll find out as the Grand Prix goes on.
No doubt about that. So lap 3 across into lap 4 out of 28. So it's Tooley, like we said, way out front, 5.6 seconds. He's increased that gap slightly over Sub-GT Racer. And we're riding on board with Tooley in that beautiful yellow Ferrari there as we take a look at the speedometer there. And just getting an idea of what you were saying earlier on in the broadcast, JT, you've got to be so careful with your gear selections, your application of the throttle, the brake, your car distances. All of that needs to come into play as Tooley, our leader, is sitting pretty outside. That gap's come down. It was 5.5 seconds, JT, so Sub-GT has cut into that gap. It's pretty steady, though, at 5 seconds. You can see there on your screens, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, all together further back. But it's this man reigning supreme, if you pardon the pun, here on lap 4 out of 28 at Watkins Glen GT.
Yeah, so it really looks like Tooley has a sizable lead there, and if we do have to make a pit stop in the wet conditions, I reckon Tooley will be the one in front, unless he has some type of fuel problem, but you never know. But the big surprise for me was Kart Dude spinning around. I still don't know whether it was contact or not, but it looked like Kart Dude's got him valid again, and he's off, and he's in the wall.
And he's made very heavy contact there, hasn't he, JT? He gave that wall an almighty thud. These cars are pretty tough, a little bit tougher than the open wheelers, but you don't want to be hitting it laterally like that, do you, early on in the race, and getting a damage to your suspension or any other part of the car for that matter?
No, if you did get damage to the suspension, that'd also impact the steering column, and that'd make you drag to the left. And in a Ferrari, I tell you what, you don't like it dragging to the left when you're on a straight. That just loses your time. And even the BMW, which is one of the slowest cars, the BMW, I'm not sure. Oh, there's a Ferrari off.
And there is...
Who's that? Is that Fubbles? Yeah.
Yep, it's Fubbles.
Yep.
Fubbles 888, he is off. So these conditions are catching out everybody as we ride on board with Fubbles then. And I tell you what, as he comes through turns 5, 6, 7 and 8, dude is off again. And I hope you're enjoying the broadcast, everyone, because I tell you what, there is action everywhere you look. And we're only on lap 5. I reckon we've had more spins than what we had. I reckon Kart Dude's had more spins than hot dinners so far this evening. So he is not having a good time of it, but he still manages to hold on to 7th place there. Our birthday boy Nemo is currently in P10 and in last position, but Jason got plenty of aquaplaning and then got hit by Fubbles, which apparently was a racing incident. Then his game froze, GT, just to make it even worse, so he is out of this race.
Wow, yeah, that's really disappointing. Kart Dude's in the pits.
Kart Dude's in the pits then. Line. Yep, from P7, here we go. What are the pit crew going to do there? They're going to assess the damage. Has he gone for a change of tyres?
Yeah, I think he's changed tyres there. Ooh, but he's not coming out of the pit lane. They've raised the flag up to let him go.
So they're giving him the message. He's not coming out of the pits. Could Kart Dude be out of this race? This is a very big development as we ride on board. There's not much action from the onboard camera there. And now he finally gets away. But I wonder what the delay was for Kart Dude. But, well, if his race wasn't well and truly over, it is now, unfortunately, for everybody's favourite Tasmanian, Brodie Swart, aka Kart Dude 45. Absolute tragedy for him as we see the cars go through there. I'll watch the pit lane, you watch the track. Now we watch Fubbles in the Ferrari, but terrible stuff for Kart Dude, and it's going to be a long way back if Kart Dude's going to come back into this race.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I think Kart Dude might have got damage fixed there. I don't know if damage is turned on. But maybe he had some sort of mechanical damage. Maybe his engine was overheating. Maybe something like that. But, you know, only time will tell if his car will, you know, explode. But, yeah, we never really know with these cars. You can't really tell much visually on them unless they have some type of performance impacting damage. So, yeah, we'll see what Kart Dude can do from... He's still not at the back of the grid, which is amazing. Yeah, lap 7 and 20, how many is that? 21 laps to go.
Tell you what, we're riding on board with Fubbles, and we said it during qualifying, GT, or you said it as well about this. It's a highly technical circuit, plenty of elevation changes, and with these treacherous conditions, it just makes the going even worse, doesn't it, with the standing water and plenty of aquaplaning. As we ride on board now with Formula One Rocks, is that for position, or I think he might be going to lap Kart Dude?
That's lapping.
Yep, putting Kart Dude a lap down. So Formula One Rocks currently in P3. He's our championship leader after taking out the first race for Shake and Bake Racing at Long Beach in California. I tell you what, we are a long, long way from sunny California, it has to be said. As just going through these results, GT Tooley on lap 8 out of 28. 20 laps to go in this Watkins Glen Round 2 GT3 Asia Pacific Racing style here on the Project Cars 2 SRL League. It's Tooley out front. 4.9 seconds ahead of V8 Man in second. Formula One Rocks in third. Sub GT Racer, who we're riding on board with at the moment in the Audi, I believe, possibly currently just sitting pretty in fourth place. Then it's further back. We've got Fubbles 888. Kart Dude there on your screen has been lapped, but he still managed to stay in P7 before Latex in 8th. Hector Kosh in 9th.
Whoa.
And speak of the devil, Latex, that commentator's curse is striking again as he has gone off. Now currently sitting in P8.
Ooh, Nemo's off.
Nemo's off.
Yep, Nemo's off.
And how fitting, Nemo, the birthday boy. Pretty much like his namesake, Nemo from the movie Finding Nemo. And we are struggling to find Nemo at the moment. There's just as much water for Nemo there as there is in the movie. It's all latex around the outside. Is he making a move there on Kart Dude, or he's possibly just...
That wasn't Kart Dude. I think that was that Heckler? No. I think it might have been fun. Yeah, he's got spun around. That was blue flags for Latex, but you know, he just didn't really give up the position. I guess he didn't get a notification either. But there's so many cars around here. I honestly think that could have been a red flag if it was in this game, but no, it wasn't a red flag, so we continue racing here on lap 7.
Well, I don't know about you, but I reckon these conditions, I'd love a bit of rain. It spices up the race, doesn't it? We don't get any, no boring races. That's what we want to see. Oh, and someone else is off now.
Tully's
V8
out.
man. Tully, sorry. I beg your pardon.
Tully lost the lead, and that's now one of the Audis, is that?
And V8
round as well.
V8 man takes the lead of this race. Incredible stuff. Tully was sitting pretty out front, 5 seconds in front of V8 man, but now he's currently slipped down to second place, and these conditions are catching out the best of them, GT. So it's V8 man now, lap 10 out of 28 in this action-packed Watkins Glen Grand Prix. It's Tully now who's been relegated to second place. Sub GT Racer is in third. Formula One Rocks in fourth. And you just need to keep it on the island in this race if you want any chance of a good result. But, well, Womp 83, where's he come from? Fifth position in the Porsche. A very nice looking teal and blue coloured Porsche there. But I tell you what, before we say any more, GT, what a race we're having at the moment.
Oh, was that was Juan? No, who was that that just slid into the wall? Yeah, that was Heckler.
It's Hecker Kosh. Hecker Kosh, we'll call him David Kosh. He is around again. This is incredible stuff. He's currently sitting in P9. And, well, I think from the timing screen there, GT, it looks as though he's at 9.5 minutes behind. So I'm assuming he's been lapped a few times now. Currently sitting in P9.
Nemo goes for the move, though. So Nemo's now in P9.
So that was...
Hecker is... Yeah, I think that was position, but the Audi now goes to take the lap off him as well, and Hecker is still on lap 1 apparently. So that's interesting. Oh, and he's round. And
he might stay on lap 1 for a little bit longer yet, as he's well, I think it's getting to a point now where you've got to say, GT, that Hecker is almost becoming a bit of a liability out there. For the rest of the drivers in these conditions as well. A bit of a mobile chicane. I do apologise for being so blunt. And Nemo's in the pits then. The birthday boy comes in in his native environment. You can't call him a fish out of water as we see him come in from P9. Now, is he going to I assume he's going to be changing onto another set of wet tyres. Yep, and yes, the pit crew, who appear to be invisible.
He missed his pit box.
He's gone through his pit box, so it's all happening. And is he coming in to retire? There's not much action there. The pit crew, they're invisible on my screen. They're not there. So, Cart Dude, he'll be wondering, and Latex is around again. Nemo sitting in the pits with nobody, with getting no love from his pit crew. Latex around again in P8. And Nemo 9th, Hecker Kosh in 10th. Yep. Meanwhile, this is getting ridiculous now, isn't it?
You can just see that we'll call him Latex. You can just see where those puddles are, and he's honestly, I kind of think he's looking for him now, and making a bit of havoc. And this, as you were saying, it's kind of a liability with these back markers, because they, as you saw, they did. I don't know if I filmed it, but they did hurt Tully's run as well, and that's why Tully lost that 5 seconds. Tully did actually hit, I believe it was Hecker, but I'm unsure, and that's why V8 man got up into that top position.
Yes, so a bit of a throwback, a bit like the 1980s and 90s, if you're old enough to remember it, JT, when pay drivers, so we see V8 man 51 there getting out of shape coming out of that corner, very reminiscent of the pay driver era of the 1990s in Formula One, where if you had plenty of cash and you linked up with a sponsor and a team who was struggling financially, you could almost anyone could almost get a drive. But there we go, the results. We're not done yet, are we, GT? There's the current standings, I should say, as we approach the halfway point of this race. It's V8 man in P1 from Tully. He inherited, it was V8 man who inherited the lead from Tully, actually. He's currently in second, 7.3, so that gap is extending all the time before Sub GT Racer in third. Formula One Rocks currently in fourth. He's 23.5 seconds behind your leader. And Wampa 83, who's racing a pretty good race, you've got to say, in that Porsche there, JT. He's keeping to himself. And, looking good in P5 at the moment. Womp 83 is really looking good in that Porsche, and I tell you what, that car handles amazing
compared to the Ferrari and the Audi, as we commentated Curtis to again. He spun around.
Well,
we should just stop.
Every time we've said any one of these 10 drivers remaining have had a good race, you give them a rap and they'll let you down every time. That's what we always say. As soon as we said about how good that Porsche was handling JT, next thing it was facing the wrong direction. So we're not going to say that anymore. How about that? We'll just keep give anybody any more encouragement for everyone out there watching at home. Great to have your company. Six currently viewing the stream. Oh, there was another big moment there. But I reckon this is good. I reckon this, you don't want to see boring races, do you? I mean, it's called entertainment, isn't it?
Off.
All the Porsche's off. And
he's damaged maybe. Yeah, he's struggling with turning, so no, he's not gone into the pit lane. So I don't know. Maybe the drivers are just struggling, overheating tyres, or I don't know.
Wampa 83 is continuing on in the Porsche, but I think he's a long way ahead of Latex in 8th, I think. I think that might be, is that someone coming up to lap? About a minute behind.
Lapping up.
So that's the blue flags will be out for Wampa here as he goes off the track, decides to come back on it again, and he's around again.
Yeah, that proves our point there. That those drivers that are getting lapped are just a liability. I don't actually know if they're getting blue flags, but we can only find out of some of the drivers' videos. So this probably be a good time to tag these drivers that yes, they do have YouTube channels. So probably it's just their usernames. If you search them up, you can find out how they're going on there. And you can see some of their onboard views as well. Yes,
no doubt about that. And I tell you what, Wampa there, just Wampa 83. He's travelling that. We were giving him a rap only a couple of minutes ago. Now he's creating his own track limits, or his own interpretation of track limits. As now finally we can ride on board with the Ferrari of Fubbles 888, who's managing to keep it on the black stuff, which is pretty much all you seem to have to be able to do here. Lap 14 out of 28 as we ride on board now with Fubbles. And this gives you a good idea for everybody watching at home just how treacherous these conditions are. Very wet and wild conditions here at Watkins Glen. We were promised nice sunny skies when I got off the plane and headed to the commentary box with you, GT, but not quite getting the conditions we expected today.
Yeah, as you can actually see in the cockpit cam, if you just look on his heads-up display, you can't really see it now because his steering wheel's blocking it. But he is running quite low on fuel with, I think that's 13.2 laps worth of fuel left, so he might actually not make it to the end. He might have to make a pit stop. So, yeah, we'll see what might happen there. But I tell you what, Kart Dude's catching up quite quickly to Bumbles, so maybe Kart Dude's got his rhythm together and started to move up the positions here.
No doubt about that. It seems that our man Kart Dude, everybody's favourite Tasmanian, must have had his mojo back. He must have ducked off and had some Weet-Bix or something, because he is cutting that gap back to Fubbles in 5th. As just as we say that, Kart Dude goes off the track. And have a look at that. Still plenty of standing water there in the Ferrari. Kart Dude doing his best to go right around that as he comes onto the main straight, then across into lap 15 for him. Lap 15 out of 28. So just recapping, lap 16, V8 man now, currently sitting out front, and he's set a quickest lap of a 1:18.343. So he's currently extended that gap out to 10 seconds ahead of sub-GT racer Tooley, who was leading at the start of this race, is a further 17 seconds behind the leader. Then it is Formula One Rocks 21 seconds behind him. And the gaps just keep getting bigger and bigger. And I tell you what, there's not many drivers even currently on the lead lap, I think, GT. How many have we got on the lead lap at the moment?
We got sub-GT racer, sorry. We got Tooley, Formula One Rocks, and that's it. Fumbles is a lap down as well.
Yeah, these other drivers aren't going to make the distance, are they even? They're not even going to get to 28 laps in this wet and wild Watkins Glen Grand Prix. This track, like I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, has seen plenty of famous races. Nemo
and around again. That corner, you just can't get it.
No, it looks certainly from the broadcast view, GT, you've raced this track more than I have. The elevation change as well as that wet weather, just not giving the drivers any confidence at all, is it?
No. I'm not sure on what the highest point of this track is, but if you know your Formula One, it's kind of like Brazil. It's a lot of twisting corners, very hard on the front tyres. As a driver, as Nemo goes for the move there. Well done, Nemo. Gets in front of Echo, I think that was. Oh, Latex has gone around.
So Latex around, Nemo around as well, and these two guys, Latex. Oh, there's contact there. I tell you what.
Slammed into the side of him.
My first ever game on the PlayStation 1 when I was a young kid. I don't want to give away my age there, but it was Destruction Derby on the PS1, and let me tell you, that was exactly like something out of Destruction Derby on the PS1. And Nemo there, nearly hitting the pit wall as well, just to add insult to injury and rub a bit more salt into the wound. But I tell you what, if we can flip to the battle between 4th and 3rd GT, there's not much between Formula One Rocks and Thule, as you can see there on your screen. Have a look at this. So just less than a second between these two, and passing is nigh on impossible. Formula One Rocks slightly off the track there, but he's managed to maintain position and stay as we ride on board with Formula One Rocks and Thule. This battle is getting intense. Have a look at those conditions. If you think it's hard for us up here commentating in the commentary box, so imagine how difficult it is for those drivers out there today. All of that standing water on that final turn is absolutely treacherous stuff. That final corner there with the water as we come down to turn 1, and Thule there looking to see if he can slot into a podium position now as around turn 1, looking to head up towards corner 2. Nemo's on about lap 2, I should say. But these corners, these are the corners, aren't they, GT? The elevation change and that danger. Look at the standing water. It's just incredible.
Yeah, the elevation change through the backwards El Rouge is very difficult. Most of the cars, like the Ferrari and the Audi in front, as Thule got a little bit of a warning there to slow down for his cutting of tracks. But yes, the elevation change is extreme, especially in wet conditions. It's so easy to lose the car. And if you can just see how these drivers are driving, they're really proving. Oh, he hit some standing water there. That was not good.
No, it seems that Thule was aquaplaning there. He's gone off the track yet again. There was a back marker who was in the way there, and Thule's around. So Thule losing the rear end grip. He's overcooked it coming out of that corner, and he is off the track. So that battle for 3rd place was very, very short-lived between him and Formula One Rocks.
Oh, and there's a Porsche round. That's one.
And, well, if you see a car spinning, do not be alarmed. Oh, don't go through there. He's gone through there and he's around. Oh, Kylie Minogue. What's that, Kylie? What's the Kylie Minogue song? I'm spinning around. And Wamp's in the pits. Oh, I know you're feeling me because I'm warm. And Wamp's in the pits now. Is there going to be a pit crew ready for him? Oh, we've got to keep it serious here, don't we, JT? But GT, not JT. He was at the Super Bowl, wasn't he? Okay, so here we go. Wamp has come into the pit lane, and well, he's gone one better than Cart Dude. He's got a pit crew waiting for him. In he comes now. The old tyres are going to come off, and no doubt to be replaced by some another set of wet weather tyres. So Wamp, it's currently getting a bit like the Le Mans 24-hour race, isn't it? There's people on all different people in all different time zones on all different laps. And only about half a dozen or so on the lead lap, I think. I think down to Cart Dude. Everyone has been lapped, if I'm not mistaken, down to Cart Dude, or at least Bubbles in P5. So lap 20 out of 28 GT. We are getting into the final stages of this chaotic Watkins Glen Grand Prix. Thanks everybody for joining us too on the live stream. Big shout out to Jarvid and Mia who are on the stream, whether that's their real name or whether they're moonlighting as somebody else. Still great to have your company. And Jason, who's currently sitting in the garage there, probably sipping on a Red Bull or maybe something stronger. I'm sure he's listening to us. Big shout out to you. But 8 laps to go, GT. And I can tell you now one thing, that gap 6 seconds for the lead as we take a look further down the order. Thule is making some inroads back into that 3rd place, which is currently being held by Formula One Rocks. But I think everybody from about 7th down to 10th, I think from Wom down to Nemo, they'll be happy just to finish this race.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think when Womp came into the pit lane, we could see that there was a fire truck in the background. I think that probably handles better than most of the cars out here in wet conditions. As it's got some weight distribution, I guess, with that water being in those tanks. But I tell you what, the fire truck won't be needed here today, as the conditions have actually got a little bit better. I was taking a look at the weather conditions, and they've gone from thunderstorm to extreme race, to not so extreme rain. As we can also see that V8 man is flashing his headlights, telling the is that a Caterham Cadillac? I don't know which car it is in front. To get out of the way, that it's blue flags, but he doesn't look like he's making way for him. It's actually a second gap between the two cars. He's gone into the wall. Yeah,
well,
he slammed it into there.
If V8 man was getting worried, I don't think he needed to be worried, because it was just a matter of time before Latex was going to go off the track yet again. With all respect to Latex, I reckon you and I could walk around this track a little bit quicker than what he is circulating it at the moment. So lap 20 then, our man Cart Dude up to P6. He's passed Wampa, who made that pit stop you saw a little bit earlier, as our man Jason Wilkinson he's not going to get into the drinks. GT, he's got an early flight back to work tomorrow. Just the cup of tea, just being very, very responsible there. Great to see, and he's currently acting as a bit of an engineer for his teammate Tooley, but we better keep that quiet for everyone else on the stream. So lap 20 out of 28 as we take a look on board now. Tooley, that gap, it's 9 seconds. Oh, there's a car off in the background there. I think it might be Nemo just doing his customary 360-degree spin around that corner. So lap 21 on board with Tooley, currently sitting in P4, 10 seconds behind Formula One Rocks in third place. Then it's Fubbles in P5, Cartoon in P6, and anybody else is just struggling. Well, everyone watching at home, every time we ooh and ah or make any kind of sound similar to that, it is just one of the the guys in 7th to 10th spinning yet again. Sub GT Racer is just 4/10 that gap.
Ooh, wow.
Here we go, the battle for the lead is on finally. Here we go, V8 man slides slightly wide, coming through to the last corner. That gap is down to 3/10 of a second as we ride on board with Sub GT Racer. Can he make a move heading down into turn 1? Got 5 laps left in the race. Is he going to make a move? No. He's got to be so careful in these conditions, doesn't he, GT? He just doesn't want to make a mistake. And here he is. Is he going to make a move on the inside through the long twisting corners? I don't think he's going to get through there, son. And V8 man is safe for the moment, but that gap just 4/10 of a second. If you're watching at home, get a cup of tea, do what Jason Wilkinson is doing, and sit in front of your monitor, because this is going to get very, very exciting indeed. Just the 5 laps left. The conditions are still absolutely atrocious, GT. Oh, the back end nearly coming out. V8 man there in the Audi. Can he hold on to P1? That gap is closing. And have a look at that third gear. He's just, you can see him, can't you, GT, feathering the accelerator and feathering the throttle there as he comes through that corner. What's Sub GT going to do with it? It's a drag race down. Here we go. They were almost side by side, but he slots in behind him now, coming around towards the end of lap 23. You can see the standing water on the inside of the track. They've got to find their own racing line and be oh so careful. Here we go. Sub GT Racer, they're side by side heading through into lap 24, and he takes the lead of this Watkins Glen GT3 Grand Prix. How fantastic is that as the fog descends here on Watkins Glen, but Sub GT Racer getting the job done and getting past V8 man. And well, we can barely see anything now on our screens here, and that forecast of less rainy is not looking like. I reckon the fog's coming down now. We've got it all, haven't we, at the moment, GT?
Yeah, I tell you what, why that battle was happening, Tooley came into the pit lane, so maybe he did need to refuel, but V8 man also got a little bit of a penalty there as well, it seems like, as he's got a caution to slow down, so maybe he does have a penalty, but you know, we never know with these drivers. There's still only around about a 6/10 gap between the two drivers, so it still could be possible with 4 laps remaining that V8 man could gain this. No, he can't.
V8 man's off and into the barrier. So V8 man Well, he had the lead, he had the race there for the taking, but he is off the track, and I think he might be all right, GT. He's got a big gap down, back to Formula One Rocks in third place, but our leader, he lost the lead to Sub-GT Racer as Nemo, just doing what Nemo does there at that corner, spinning around yet again. But wow, we had Tooley in the lead at the start of this race, didn't we, GT? Then it was V8 Man who inherited the lead from Tooley after he went off, and now Sub-GT Racer on lap 25 out of 28. Look at that. Oh my goodness me, we're waiting for the fog to clear, and there he is. We're finally riding on board with him. I think we might have to ride on board with some of these guys if we're going to be any chance of seeing what the hell is going on. And Jason there just offering to take a run up to the commentary box if we have heating. This is not what I was promised, Jason, during the week when you gave me the weather forecast. I was told up to 55 degrees, and that's just a Porsche off onto the right there as we're riding on board with Sub-GT Racer. He inherited the lead from V8 Man. I'm too excited. Just remember Big Kev, he got too excited, GT, and what happened to him. But anyway, 3 laps to go in the Watkins Glen Grand Prix.
Oh, that's another car off. Oh, that was Cart Dude. That was Cart Dude in the Ferrari. He really just lost the back end, I reckon, there on that puddle. And you can see that his lap deltas are really going down. Drivers have to be so careful here as V8 Man laps Cart Dude once again. So I think V8 Man, what lap? Yeah, 25. So Cart Dude's 2 laps down now. So I don't think he'll be getting it back. But yeah, the fog's really set in. It set in really quickly. And I guess that's because of the elevation change. Yep, we'll be looking for a refund, you and I, JT, from Jace, who bloody booked those airline tickets. We weren't expecting this. As Cart Dude then, he's in P6 in the Ferrari, lap 24 out of 28. Or Cart Dude's on lap 24. The leader, Sub-GT, is on lap 26. If you want to race in monsoonal conditions as well, don't forget to head to supremeracingleague.com. Head to the forum there, the SRL Project Cars 2 League, the GT3 Asia Pacific League, and sign up if you want to be a part of this action. And only round 2. We've got a few rounds to go. Like we mentioned at the start of the broadcast, heading, where are we heading next week? Daytona Road. We continue our American journey. But at the moment, oh no! Our leader! That could be gone. It's a second gap, and V8's passed. V8 Man is back into the lead. This is incredible stuff. 2 laps to go. Oh my goodness me! It seems the lead of this race. We talked about the commentator's curse, JT, but I reckon that the lead of this race is almost like a poison chalice at the moment. Tooley had it. V8 Man had it. Sub-GT had it, and now V8 Man's got it again. 2 laps to go. Yeah, so, 2 laps to go now, and I don't think he'll be making it back 5 seconds, unless V8 Man, we commentator curse him again, or he gets tangled up with lap traffic. He has no much chance now to win Sub-GT Racer, but we can only hope that there might be another battle within the next 2 laps, and hope that maybe there might be a bit of fuel problems or anything like that. But god damn, look at how much standing water's on the lap. It's full of it. You've just literally got to tiptoe across the line. Not tiptoeing through the tulips there, but you have to just finish this race. And like they say, to finish first you've got to finish. And that is very, very true. V8 Man there currently in the lead, 6 seconds ahead of Sub-GT Racer before Formula One Rocks in the 3rd spot at the moment. So he is currently on for a podium finish. Coming up to lap, Nemo there, gets through safely. So Tooley then putting a lap on Nemo, the birthday boy, who is 27-something minutes. He's about 6 months behind everybody else at the moment. Here we go, Fubbles in P5. Currently coming up to lap Nemo as well, I believe. I think that might be Nemo in front of him, but I think we might head to our lead man there, GT, who's currently on his final lap of what can only be described as a treacherous, disastrous, eventful Watkins Glen Grand Prix. And what an absolute nightmare it's been for the drivers. It's been
bloody entertaining for everyone watching at home, and for us up here in the commentary box, Grunting Tortoise. It's been great to call the action with you as we see this man come through on his last lap. Well, hopefully he can see what's going on, because we can't, and I'm assuming neither can anyone else at home. He's coming through the last lap. JT, bring him home.
So yeah, as we see V8 man come through his last lap here, we're going to watch him come down the straight. Oh, he lost. Oh, there's a car around. Was that him? No, it wasn't. Okay. Oh, thank
He's
God.
just got to pick his way through.
He's
got to pick his way through the lap traffic. You can still see the standing water. And we need to get back on board with our lead man as he comes through. He's getting close. He's getting closer. Here he comes. He almost loses it, but it is our man. He's done it. He crosses the line. V8 man, I beg your pardon, is our winner here at Watkins Glen. He crosses the line to take victory here in round 2 of the SRL Project Cars 2 GT3 Asia Pacific League. And my word, what a race that was. 7 seconds ahead of Sub GT Racer, as that looked like it was the Ferrari of Kart Dude off. And they're all tiptoeing their way to the line at the moment. So I'm pretty sure that Sub GT Racer has come across the line. Or is he still... no, the race is completed. So he's crossed the line to finish second ahead of Formula One Rocks in third. Tooley in fourth, who led the opening stages of this race in fifth. Fubbles. And I think they're going to run out of time here, GT. I think we've got a few lap cars as Kart Dude just doing the customary, well, he's done a 180 there. He's sideways on the track in the Ferrari. I'd hate to be picking up the damage bill from this race tonight as well. And don't forget, if you're watching this through the Kidbyers channel, yours truly, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. But V8 Man indeed has taken, V8 Man 51 has taken the win here at Watkins Glen. That is the end of the race. And we're getting a few comments on the stream here too, GT, saying that race should have been red flagged. But anyway, there's the final results on your screen. V8 Man 51 taking the win here in Watkins Glen from Sub GT Racer in second. Formula One Rocks in P3, so completing your podium there. Tooley in fourth. He was unlucky after leading the opening few laps of this race. Fubbles in P5. Kart Dude in P6. Womp 83 in P7. Latex finishing 8th in the end, a few laps down. Hecka Kosh in 9th. And the birthday boy Nemo picking up a single point in P10. What a race. And, well, absolutely incredible stuff, JT.
Yeah, that race was really, you know, something to show what drivers can do in the wet conditions. And honestly, I would have liked it to be a dry race, but you can't hope for anything. It still showed its action and showed that cars really do spin in these conditions, especially with those Ferraris running that rear downforce. But we can only hope that all the drivers are okay and they've come back into the pits safely. And I believe that everyone's finished. Yeah, everyone's finished the race. Okay, good. So yeah, that was really a very interesting race.
No doubt about that. So, well, we had an eventful race back in Long Beach in round 1, and then we haven't been disappointed here in round 2 either. And, well, so V8 Man taking the win like we mentioned. The results, 1, 2 and 3, they're on your screen. Right down to Nemo in 10th. And we might, great to have eye contrast on the stream as well. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And we're getting a few Nemo-related comments, GT, whether that's Nemo himself, who's just trying to push his own wheelbarrow, as you might say. I'm not too sure. But we just might, if you bear with us here on the live stream, for everyone out there watching at home, we might be able to get V8 Man 51. We might be able to get our winner on the party chat, GT, if you would be kind enough, ever so kind, to invite him in, along maybe with Sub GT Racer and our third place man, Formula One Rocks. That would be fantastic. Yep. And
actually, I think you might have to do it, yeah, because it's a locked party and you're the party owner, so you're going to have to be the one, unfortunately, to invite him. If you go into your messages, you should be able to invite everyone in the SRL Project Cars 2 thingy. So
yes, well, thanks for letting the cat out of the bag there, exclusive company. But everyone watching at home, I'll just give you a bit of a heads up. If the screen goes blue, or indeed we lose the broadcast altogether, do not despair, because we will be back with our 1, 2, and 3 right after this.
maybe his rivals could be Fumbles or Formula One Rocks. But yeah, we'll never know. Now we have Nemo.
So Nemo's been good enough to join us. Nemo, first of all, congratulations. Happy birthday. You are the People's Champion. You ended up on your roof last week. You ended up in P10 this week. Tell us a little bit about your race.
P10? I got 8.
It's coming up as 10th on our screen, but we've got...
probably because I left the lobby. That's probably why.
Yep. Okay. So we've got. We'll get back to you in a moment, Nemo. But we've got Sub GT Racer on the line. Are you there, Sub GT?
I am, gentlemen. Good evening.
Yes, a very good evening to you. Well, first of all, congratulations on second. But one has to say that it could have been so much more tonight.
It could have been, yeah. That I just could not get through that puddle. It was giving me.
Oh, that fucking puddle. Oh shit! Sorry.
It was giving me all sorts of trouble, but pretty happy all the same, you know. But yeah, could have, should have got there.
Yes, it was a race of ifs and buts, but I tell you what, it seemed certainly from commentary, and I'm sure you'll agree as well, GT, that it looked like a set of flippers were required out there more than a set of tyres. It was absolutely treacherous, wasn't it? How did you go? We saw a lot of standing water on all around the track, GT. How did you go with just getting around the lap?
It wasn't easy early on, but once you got your lines, it wasn't too bad, but you had to be super careful not to tip one of them puddles.
Yes, no...
It was difficult, yeah.
No doubt about that. Yes.
Yeah, no. It was a man one.
I worked that out with 2 laps to go.
Always,
I'm still clueless as to how...
Always good advice.
I'm still clueless as to how I remained in 5th place.
Hey, Torta, what's your name? Fubbles. What do you think about latex, brother?
We'll just have to cut you off there. I think, GT, we're just looking for our winner and our second place man. I made the stupid mistake of inviting everybody in this group to have a chat with us, and this is still on air. So mind your P's and Q's there, Nemo. I know what you're all about, my friend. So just we'll try and keep the language and everything else for everyone else watching nice and clean. But I think we're still waiting for our winner, V8 Man 51, to drain the, or I guess he's trying to get the champagne out of his overalls at the moment, or the water, or both. But I tell you what, looking ahead to next week, if we've still got you there, Sub GT, if you're still on the line, looking ahead to next week, Daytona Road, 26 laps around there for round 3. How have you found your start of the season up to this point in time?
Surprisingly good, actually. I'm new to tuning, but boys been nice enough to help me, so can actually be competitive. Struggled last week with speed, but I guess hard to tell, not being a dry track this week, what sort of speed you've actually got. But yeah, no, I'm happy with the start for sure.
No doubt about that. Well, congratulations tonight as well, GT, and good luck for next week, as Cart Dude has been good enough to join us. Cart Dude, what was happening there during that race?
Oh god.
Yes.
Should have been red flagged.
Thank you very much for that, Cartoon. I think you might have to turn your microphone up there, as our winner has been good enough to join us. I can hear people listening to the stream, and that's great, but if they could just tone it down a little bit in the background, that would be fantastic as well. V8 man, have we got you there on the line?
Can you hear me?
I certainly can. Loud and crystal clear, my friend. Take us through that race. Absolutely atrocious conditions. We were getting comments on the stream saying it should have been red flagged, but take us through the race from start to finish from your perspective.
First lap, like fairly easy, not any crashes.
Can't hear you. Running.
Yes, no doubt about that. It was, yep, we can still hear you, mate, loud and clear.
Those poles in the back straight were just so bad.
On a stream.
Just avoiding them was hard. But, very consistent holding off, sub G tracer, the ball goes up by me.
Did well, V8. Congrats.
Thanks, mate.
V8, you have to stream. Can't hear you.
Yeah, we're not getting any audio. We're getting thanks for everyone who's tuning in at the moment, but yeah, we're not getting any audio coming through from our winner. But I will relay that message. He just said he had to tread very lightly at the start, keep his nose clean, stay out of trouble. I almost feel like I'm translating this from another language into English. And now we've got you back on the line, V8 man.
Yep. Is that working now?
So, yeah, we'll just see whether we can hear the comments, I'm sure. If they can't hear you, I'm sure we will know soon enough. But, yep, just take us through that race again, mate, very shortly.
Okay, cool.
That bloody race has been red flagged.
Agreed. That was hard.
So, V8 man.
Puddle.
Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you coming through loud and clear now, mate. So, yeah, just give us a quick recap.
cool.
Sorry, I know you've already gone through and told us a bit about the race, but just give us a quick recap on that victory tonight.
Alright, avoid puddles, get a rhythm, don't spin, race clean, and then just, yeah, be smooth.
There you go. Great advice from our winner, V8 Man 51. Congratulations. Not just good advice there, but, well, I guess if you avoid all those things in your day-to-day life, I'm sure you can do quite well. So, fantastic stuff. We've heard from our winner. We've heard from our other man, Sub-GT Racer. I think that's about... Yep. Can we get anybody else on the line there to say a few words? If not, we might have to wrap things up for tonight.
Yeah, I was about to say. Oh, shit, you know you can.
Good race, guys. It was tough going.
Yeah.
All right, we might wrap things up. Big thank you to everybody for joining us tonight on the Supreme Racing League PS4 Project Cars 2 GT3 Asia Pacific League. Don't forget to head to supremeracingleague.com. Still plenty of places to sign up. We've still got 6 rounds to go. Join us next week for Daytona, 26 laps as we continue our US road trip. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the stream tonight. Thanks for your company. We'll see you next week.